The smartest financial mistake a beginner can make is setting up a mathematically perfect payoff strategy. It looks flawless on paper, but it cracks under the weight of human psychology. This chart shows three debt balances carrying different interest rates. If you followed the debt avalanche method, you prioritize the single account with the highest percentage rate first, funneling all extra cash into that one balance. This is considered the mathematically flawless approach because it minimizes the total amount of interest you pay over the long term. But this efficiency exists in a vacuum. In practice, you might spend 6 months attacking a high-interest balance without ever seeing a single account actually disappear from your life. When the pile of bills on the desk doesn't shrink, the sense of progress evaporates, and the entire plan often collapses into burnout. Treating debt as a pure math problem is a fatal error. It assumes we operate like calculators and completely ignores the behavioral reality of how human beings actually work. The psychological cost of the avalanche method becomes obvious the moment you put it into practice. This timeline graph illustrates a common scenario. The debt with the highest interest rate is often your largest balance. You chip away monthly, but progress is painfully slow. You experience debt fatigue, directing funds toward a massive balance without crossing a visible finish line. Human motivation naturally decays when intense effort fails to yield immediate, visible progress. A mathematically optimal system is completely useless if the human operating it gets frustrated and quits before reaching the final goal. The alternative is the debt snowball method. This strategy dictates that you pay off your smallest balance first, regardless of the interest rate attached to it. From a strictly classical economic standpoint, this method intentionally loses money. You are explicitly choosing to ignore the math of high interest rates, but it addresses a behavioral quirk known as debt account aversion. The human brain requires quick, completed tasks to trigger a release of dopamine, keeping us motivated to continue the work. Prominent financial advisors prioritize this exact behavioral approach because it secures early momentum. Research confirms that completing small, manageable tasks provides the necessary psychological fuel to tackle vastly larger obstacles later. This pie chart shows a secondary benefit. Eliminating small balances lowers your credit utilization ratio. This ratio accounts for 30% of a standard FICO score. Lowering it delivers a rapid credit score boost, providing a highly visible psychological win right when you need it most. The snowball method succeeds by engineering behavioral momentum. It transforms a crushing financial burden into a series of achievable, addictive victories. You don't have to choose between psychological momentum and mathematical savings. The hybrid method merges both. Phase 1 of the hybrid method uses the snowball strategy for 90 days, knocking out small balances for early dopamine hits. Once the habit is cemented, you hit a transition point. Phase 2 pivots to the avalanche method, targeting high-interest accounts for the long haul. By the time you've cleared your fourth balance, the proof-of-concept phase is over. The novelty of closing a small account fades as the habit of repayment takes hold. Meanwhile, the interest cost of your larger debts continues to compound. At this stage, the dopamine from a small win is worth far less than the actual thousands you're losing to a high interest rate. True financial discipline requires acknowledging your humanity. To beat debt, engineer a system that harnesses your emotions rather than pretending they don't exist.